Hi everybody, this is Josh Culp. We are learning Daf Shui. Congratulations, we're starting a new Masechet today. Very exciting. We are learning Masechet Gittin. So we'll be here with Gittin for almost a couple years. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about this famous machloket, this famous dispute at the very beginning of the Masechet, talk about some of the problems about it, and maybe offer a potential different way of thinking about it. So the Mishnah, as you probably read already, says that a messenger who brings a get, there's disputes over exactly in which situations he has to make this declaration, but he has to declare that b'fanei nichtav, b'fanei nichtav, that the get was written in front of me and was signed in front of me. And this will lead to basically two famous disputes in the Talmud. One we get immediately, and that is the reason why. I'll talk about that in a second. A machloket, a dispute between Rabbah and Rava. And the other is this is part of an array of disputes in the Mishnah over what is the essential act of writing a get. Is it the writing? That would be Rebbe Meir's position, or is it that would be Rebbe Elazar's position, and Rebbe Meir's position would be that the signing of the get is the essential part. But we're not going to talk so much about the second part. That is a large, broad machloket that appears throughout Masechet Gittin. The issue at hand here is Rabbah and Rava. Rabbah saying that the reason why the declaration must be made is because people outside of the land are not experts in the writing of the get for her sake. And Rava says that the declaration must be made because witnesses are difficult to find, and the declaration obviates the need to find witnesses later on. Now, the Rishonim have a whole bunch of questions about particularly the connection between Rabbah's reasoning and the declaration. How, in essence, the question is, how does saying in front of me it was signed and in front of me it was sealed remedy the problem of knowing whether the get was written with her intent? Unless they were to ask the shaliach, do you know that the get was written with her in mind? And so there are various solutions to that among the Rishonim. There's also questions about why is this the problem that we're worried about and not other problems that also affect the validity of the get. But I want to suggest one thing is that right here in the very beginning of the Masechet, Rabbah and Rava present two of the main concerns throughout the entire Masechet. The first concern is that there might be a forgery, and without witnesses around, it's going to be difficult to ascertain the validity of the get. And we are going to always be concerned if the get is not valid, then the woman isn't divorced, and children from a subsequent marriage are going to be considered mamzerim. It's what you might call unwitting adultery. She thinks she's not married anymore, but she is married, and therefore, technically speaking, this is adultery. But the more unique issue, I think the more interesting issue, is the notion that the rabbis have that the get must be written with her in mind. We'll talk a lot about that throughout the Masechet, but it's something unusual and unique to the get as a divorce document and doesn't apply in other documents. Other documents can be generic, but the divorce document has to be directed from the man to the woman. And I think that's partially because the divorce document works very differently than other documents. Most other documents are what we would call a de re'iyah, or a shtar re'iyah, a document for proof that something happened. I can lend you money. That loan is valid. I need a document to prove that you owe me money. But the document is proof, it is not the act of lending itself. When it comes to divorce, it is the document that severs the relationship. It is the giving of the document from the husband to the wife, or from the husband's agent to the wife or another agent. But the document has to be given over. It is how divorce is done. It is not just a document that proves divorce. In that sense, the divorce document is very different and from all other documents in Jewish law, and has a whole array of rules that apply to it. In particular, because this is the agent, how the marriage is severed, there are rules as to the particularity of for how that document has to be written, and that it has to be written with her intent. So I think that Rabbah bringing this up there in the very beginning of the Masechet is a way of sort of alluding to one of the major issues that distinguishes the get from all other forms of documentation.